You're listening to the Faith and Friction podcast with your hosts, Mac and the Rev. Welcome to the conversation.
One more time, the friction with faith. We're going to do it again, Rev. Here we are, man. Welcome.
I am in God's playground, as the Hindus say, Leela. I am ready to play. I've got the gear on, and I'm in the arena. Let's go.
Oh, we're playing. I love that. We were talking about that earlier, weren't we? It's got to be.
I love
part
we're
of
going to
play.
carry the idea we kind of put out there for the really officially last episode. We want to make the world a better place.
Yes.
So we are playing to make the world a better
Yes.
place.
And that, I think if we learn to play more, that's going to be a better place as
A
well.
natural byproduct.
How about
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Hey, listen, I thought maybe I'd start this episode out with maybe some preview of what might be coming down the pike. Some of our future episodes that we're
Sure.
thinking about, just to tweak all of you
A
out
look
there.
into the crystal ball.
There, that's pretty much what this is, okay? But of course, it always morphs, but this is some of the ideas out there. All right. How about faith and cosmic energy? Sometimes we don't put those two things together, do we? Even though the Holy Spirit is what? It's a wind that blows. It's
Well, I
pretty
believe
much-
systems, everything is energy, so
Yeah.
faith is too.
All right. So faith and cosmic energy. Good topic. We've been talking around this forever, but ultimately we're going to do an episode on Christian nationalism. Hey, it's just
Trap it.
got to come. Faith and friction. Are you kidding me? All right. It fits the bill completely. All right. How about this? And I titled this, and it always changes after we do it, but my idea is the fog of faith. So when we say we have faith, all right, in whatever it is, how is that foggy? How do we, when we say it, how is it slipping through our fingers? And how does it look like mist or smoke in front of us
Well,
as we
you
say
say
the word?
mist, I'm saying mystery.
Is
Is it? They are partners.
Yes.
Faith and the mystery, call it the fog,
All right.
means there's some things that you just have to take on faith that you really
do.
don't know until the clouds part.
There it is. So that's a good topic. How about, and this fits along with it, maybe they go together. I don't know. We'll see. Faith and mysticism. Not necessarily, we have mystery, but what about mysticism? What kind of level does that, when you hear that word, where does your brain go? What's
That's religious friction since the beginning of time because mystics were often put to death. Mysticism was
Well,
like
maybe I don't want
pushed
to talk
off.
about it. I don't know. I don't want somebody coming knocking on my door. All right. And then just another last, matter of fact, we were talking about this today, semi in our meeting that we had earlier. Faith and the prosperity gospel. Now, we have a unity philosophy, I'm going to call it, way of looking at cause and effect and its intention and things like that.
Yep.
So how can we separate out maybe some of that and, I don't know, call out from our perspective maybe a little bit of, I don't know, can I use the word false teaching or, I don't know, just maybe a skew on how we understand the universe?
Yeah, we're not going to get into that episode now, but you look at, it's actually a 4-letter word in many environments. Oh, prosperity gospel. They're not doing God's work. Yet it says in the Bible, it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom.
Yes.
I think it could be a good exploration.
Yeah, I think. So anyway, we're going to talk about a concept of perfection in this episode. So I think it kind of goes along a little bit with that. Okay. So that's just kind of some little teasers. Stay tuned. Hang in there with us. Listen to us.
And if one of those episodes sounds interesting, invite someone to listen with you.
Absolutely. Okay. Hello. We want to share some of the goodies, hopefully, that you can share with others for sure. All right. So our topic for tonight, what do you think about our topic for tonight, man?
I think it might have been predetermined by everything that's led up to this moment. Who knows?
Oh, what a pun. Okay. That was, okay. So what we're talking about, the Rev has already opened the door on, and that's the concept of karma. Now, here's the question. Everybody that's listening right now just heard that word.
Yep.
What's going through your brain right now?
Instant reaction.
Oh, what's your first
Karma.
reaction to that word? We were talking about upstairs. Talk to the hand. Oh, no, can't go there.
Right.
That's out there. That's the slippery slope. That's bringing in something that I can't abide by for whatever reason, your faith. But then
And
there's
I'm
other
saying, don't
faiths.
turn the dial yet.
Yes.
Stick with us. Karma is by a definition somebody gave you that didn't understand it
Right.
might be dangerous, might be scary or challenging to your belief system.
That's a great point. That don't let somebody else's, and it could be a group, can be an individual, whatever it might be, don't let that necessarily frame your truth. As we say all the time, consider it, run it through your grid, run it through whatever God grid you had or worldview grid, your discernment, whatever it might be. We're just challenging you to do that, and then you come out on the other end.
It's just a word. You talked about the concept of karma. What about the
Right.
experience of karma? So that's where I put it. Rubber
Okay.
meets the road spirituality. It's cause and effect. That's it.
That's karma.
That's science. That's karma. That's everything. That's life.
So we're going to start literally there with at its simplest. Now, other people go other places with this. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So we're going to talk about kinds of karma as we as humans and cultures and religions understand it. Now, that's just a little bit of awakening. And again, all we're just doing is giving a little information there so we can frame it. That's all. All right. Then I think what we decided we're going to end the last part of the podcast is going to be typically our therefore. All right.
Yes.
Here's what's out there. Here's what people are thinking. Here's how it works for some folks and this and that. Therefore, for you, let us give you some ideas about how that might incorporate into your life. Believe in whatever it is you
It's
believe.
information, yes, but there must be inspiration.
Yeah, there
How
is.
can your life be better as a result of what we're talking
Mhm.
about today?
Yep. Cause and effect. There it is. Reb's already said it. And we're not only going to talk about cause and effect, but we're going to talk about cause and effect maybe on two different planes.
Sure.
Cause and effect right now. I say this happens, or maybe not immediately, maybe not directly, but in this life, we have cause and effect.
Yes.
All right.
On this dimension, on this earthly journey.
Exactly. We are, and that doesn't have to be negative, right?
No.
Not at all, but we tend
It
to.
can be negative
Well,
if we're
sure.
unconscious.
Absolutely, it can be. But a lot of times I think we frame that as something, we did something bad, now something bad's going to happen to us. Typically, I think that's the norm, if you will. And yet at the same time, do something good and you're going to get good.
Yeah.
Okay. So
You can use the law in your favor.
that's exactly right. And others' favor too. All right.
Yes.
So we have that. But then there are others, and we just want to introduce you to this idea that it's also eternal, that there are karmic consequences and a flow, and it revolves into the future, into the eternity. And then how does that, get framed? And what's the effect of that?
Playing with that idea,
Yeah.
I have a belief that I am eternal. Spiritually, I am eternal. Energy is eternal. Is there an idea that the energy I put into play through my words, my actions, my behaviors is also eternal, unless it is addressed?
Yes.
But this life, next life, we're going to talk a little bit about past lives
Yeah,
and
right.
future lives. Is it eternal if it is not addressed?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. And I think if you take the Christian concept more, because we talk about Christianity more than we would speak,
Yeah.
not that these aren't universal truths, right? But we'll talk about Christianity more. And even Christianity has heaven and hell. That's eternal.
Yep.
And that's also a karmic result, as that belief would go, of whatever you sowing and reaping.
Yep.
That can be certainly here, but think about it in the bigger sense from a Christian standpoint, that if my actions and my causes on this side of the
veil,
the veil, then can affect my eternal state.
Emmett Fox postulates an idea that our job on earth is to refine our ability to know that there are consequences to our actions, words, our thoughts, and our feelings. It's not immediate. There is a lag time. Things are slowed down. The next dimension, the next iteration of our being, it will be very sped up. It will be immediate. So it will determine if it's heaven or hell, how well we have refined our ability to know that there is power in what we're speaking, power in what we're doing, and we're putting energy in motion.
Now, and I think we all can listen to that and take that in, and everybody has their own, I can get that, but I can't really get that right now. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't go through my grid. And here's our favorite word. I think we did this in the last podcast. We came up with it, so we're just carrying it forward. Maybe. Just say, look, that's foreign to me. Ugh, I haven't believed in that way before.
Sure.
Or even right now.
Could it be, let's just put it down to earth, that I am the product of every decision that I've made for the last 64 years? That every decision or action I took, I have reaped the consequences, good and not so good, of those actions. But I can correct them. I can redirect them. That energy, it's in motion. And if I don't pay attention to it, it could be suffering.
In different faiths, different beliefs, different theologies will treat this process that you were just talking about and that we're talking about as a means of blessing and punishment by a deity. So, yes, I sow in sin into the equation, into the ether, into my life, right? And now the consequence, the karma of that action now is God punishing me.
Somebody to blame, so I don't have to take responsibility.
Exactly. We're kind of dispelling that here, at least from our belief system that says, own your life. Right?
Own your life. Could it be that we're not punished for our sins by any entity or energy, divine or otherwise? We're punished by our sins.
Yes.
Karma.
Yeah, take
You put
responsibility.
A out, B is going to happen.
It's your responsibility. Okay. So we're gonna stand on that. All right. But it's not so much that's just what we believe. All right. Why do we believe that? Why have we adopted and taken that in? Because, as you said at the beginning of the podcast, why? Because it makes our life better.
Yeah.
And it hopefully can make other lives better as well.
In the laboratory of my life, by taking responsibility and owning my life, my actions, good, bad, and otherwise, my life has become better. My relationships have become better. My experiences on earth have become better. Do I believe that the lessons I've learned here and the things I've taken responsibility for will make the next level, the next dimension better? Absolutely.
There's a different way to look at it because, again, to live once and then face judgment, you read that in the Bible, all right? It's in Hebrews. Everybody kind of has their little bit of a twist on this, but for me, it was very freeing to not get put in that predetermined box where there wasn't the me part of making my own decisions at the end of the day. Now, again, I'm not saying that other religions don't have, you can make your own decision because you have free will, all right? But then you mix up the theistic deity thing into all of that, and I think it just gets way confused, all right? I just think you play the card, you get the slippery slope, and there's so many more nuances to the whole thing that don't need to be there.
It's a great cop-out. The devil made me do it. Flip Wilson used to say that. In a lot of religion, the devil made me do it. It was somebody else's fault, or it must be God's will.
Yeah, there it is.
And the God card that we talk about often, it's like, boy, that is just shirking complete and total responsibility for your own actions.
Exactly. And once you go there, where does it end? All right, so was that God's will? Was that God's will? Did God intervene in that situation or not? I mean, to me, it just doesn't hold water anymore. It's got so many holes in it. I got to go somewhere else with it.
I always say the quality of the question will determine the quality experience. Who is responsible for this suffering is a really bad question. How can I be a better person? How can I make this situation better? How can I make this relationship better?
Yeah.
Who am I called to be on earth at my utmost? Those are way better questions than, is it God or the devil or is it my parents that are responsible for my bad behavior?
Hang on a minute. I think this is back here somewhere that you're already sharing truths.
Oh, I jumped ahead?
That's okay. I'm just kidding. There it is, of course, all right? So lots of things play into this causality, ethics. There's ethical, even if you're a humanist, you have ethics. Humanity, what Marcus Aurelius was all about.
Yeah. I think that's the number one gift of religion as we know it. Man made religions to try to understand the infinite. It did give us a moral code.
Yes.
Some integrity and what's right, what isn't right.
So again, those are causes that will have effects, and we want them to be positive effects. If we adopt a more ethical perspective and actions and treatment of other people,
And there's commonalities between all the world religions.
Yeah, there it
There
is.
are golden
that.
rule, if you will, is there in many different forms. We have a common ethic, a way of living, way of interacting with each other.
Yes.
That can be found in all the world scriptures.
I think it's a natural law, like you said. It's eternal. It is what it is, and it's indiscriminatory, no matter what you believe. Now, maybe you don't realize it. Maybe you don't get to accept it. Maybe you don't get to experience it, depending upon how you want to look at all this. But it's there. It's like gravity. You can't, you don't have to say so, but you can't deny it.
And is there an internal thermostat telling us we know, without the guidance of a Bible or the Bhagavad Gita or any holy book or teacher, we have that internal, this isn't right. And we get to then decide. That's grace. I get to decide I'm going to go with the ethics, or I'm going to just put them in the back room and do what I want to do anyway.
Yeah, we got that choice. And
There
it
are
also
consequences
speaks
for those choices.
That's true. That's the whole episode what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You do this, what's the consequence? Well, you do this, what's the consequence, right? At the same, you think though that grounded, and again, we'll go back to some Christian beliefs, that if you truly believe that you are born separated from God, in sin, in total depravity, framed, there's a cause. There's God's cause on your life. Now, what's the effect of that? How do you look at yourself? What's your self-image look like? How do you look at other people? It all goes together. You can't, it's indiscriminate. You can't just say, I'm putting that in this box.
Dominoes. It's dominoes.
Yeah.
They get this affects that, affects this, affects everything.
Exactly. And what did we say last week in the episode? A violent God produces violent people. And you could fill anything in the blank. Good God, a loving God produces loving people. All right. So there we go. So we've already hit on a lot of these. Let's just do a little informational quickie. So let's go through some of the world religions like Hinduism, right? This is probably where we think about this concept of karma more than any of the others, even though it's built in. But you have this concept of cause and effect of the word karma, and then it gets past lives, rebirth, reincarnation. All of that starts to come into their equation as they look at how the world works and how the universe works and all that.
And it's an energy form about being born again.
Yeah.
To use Christian language, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
To truly dip into reincarnation. And I think I said this earlier
Yeah,
tonight.
that was great. What did you say?
I've been reincarnated 20 times in this one body, in this one lifetime, in this one experience on Earth.
That was great. You said it. I was like,
I'm not the same person
absolutely.
I was. I am different. I was reborn, made new, reincarnated.
Yeah.
Now, what happens in the many dimensions? Jesus also said, in my Father's house are many rooms, that reincarnation. Do I believe we come back to Earth? I don't know. I don't remember if I used to be a cockroach.
No.
Or
No way. Come on. No way. But you just said, I don't know. So I've got to have enough clarity on whatever decision I make, and then I get on with it.
Does it make a difference that what I'm about to say or do or put out into the universe, oh, I'm going to pay for it in 10 lifetimes from now, or I'm going to pay for it 10 minutes from now?
Maybe.
Just don't do it. You're going to pay for it.
Let's go to the bigger.
There's a bigger picture
Let's
here.
go to the bigger arc. Yes.
Yes.
It will have repercussions.
Yes.
Then you don't get in the microcosm. Just adopt that particular truth. All right. Cosmic truth. All right. Current fulfillment of past lives. You've already talked about it in the Hindu faith, that there is this circular, I guess I'll call it, or this reiteration that you go through as you live one life. Okay, this earthly experience passes. Now you go into the
You either got the lesson
dimension.
or you didn't get the lesson. You're going to repeat the lesson. You're going to repeat it over and over until you get it.
This is a continual process. And you can even go to a place where it says you can even choose that. So you're in that place now. And now, in order to perfect your understanding and your consciousness and everything, because it still doesn't go away. Yes, I choose to go back now and to learn a lesson that I didn't learn. This is all part of that whole perspective on what does eternity look like. And we're just giving you, not an option, but a perspective.
Another perspective is I've studied a lot about near-death experiences, and people come back, and every one of them was asked the question, do you want to go back?
Yeah.
or it's not time yet.
Yes.
You have lessons to learn. You have good to bring. It's not complete yet. I don't understand that. I can't even begin, but I do know that I've lived that day to day, week to week, month to month. I want to do that over. One of the things in my household that we do, we'd call a do-over when we're into a fight.
Yeah.
One of us, Susie or I, will say, "Wait a minute, let's do a do-over. Let's do this better." That's a reincarnation right there.
See, don't just push away that word.
Yeah.
Because it can take all sorts of really deep, effective connotations that if you just look at it a different way and you practice it.
Just a word.
Right? Exactly. And we say that all the time, right? Okay. But we have a future that's based upon current actions, not just on this earth, okay, but the future past this. That's another way to look at it, right?
Well, even our current, and I'm going to go on a bunny trail here. I often teach that cause and effect are not separated by time and space. Now, what does that mean? That means my current suffering is not the cause of something. Is not caused by something that happened 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. My current suffering is caused by my reaction to what happened 10 years ago. To my current thought, my current belief system, my current feelings about what happened 10 minutes ago. That's the cause of my current suffering. You can't separate cause and effect. Your life as you know it, heaven or hell, in this moment, as a life experience, is based upon what's going on between my ears and at the center of my chest.
Truth. There's some truth, man.
So let's quit worrying about what's gonna come next, whether it's 10 minutes from now or the next 10th dimension. Wow, I'm suffering or thriving on the energy I put out just a second ago with the thought I just welcomed.
And you already said it too, that yes, those things accumulate as who you are today. And a lot of it has to do with that we use this, the stories you tell yourself today.
Yeah.
What story are you going to tell yourself? Oh, I had a horrible childhood. All right. Now, I'm not judging anybody, and I'm not even beginning.
Some people did have bad.
Of course they did. Yes, that's a given.
But
yes,
your current suffering, could it be? Just consider. I want to be tender here. Not the bad childhood you had, but your current thought about the bad childhood. You're being victimized over and over again by what you're allowing. Don't run out space to that childhood anymore. Have a new childhood. Reincarnate your own self. Remake yourself. Rebirth.
There it is.
Be born again in a higher reality. And again and again and again.
You could always say that. I love it, man. Again. 4 times today, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
So it's a process, and we don't have to separate out all of these words, concepts into silos of there's that belief, there's that belief, there's that belief, and religion and all of that. The more we understand the pluralism, we talked about that in a previous episode, right? That it's a combination. Don't separate. Don't have all this dualism. That's that.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Let's draw some parallels. Just a drive-by. The idea of karma. In the Bible, it is taught, as you sow, so shall you reap.
There it is.
That's it.
That's karma.
The idea of reincarnation. Okay, it gets a little stickier, but the reality is being born again. It's the same concept. And if you don't get you don't dig beneath the surface of the word or what somebody taught you about a word, you never they're teaching the same thing.
A lot of times, do you ever, when you read the Bible, talk about John the Baptist, right? So John the Baptist comes, and as the story goes, blah, blah, blah. But what did the people and the Pharisees ask him? Are you
the one?
Elijah? Are you the prophet? There was this idea that there could be a reincarnated filling of an individual. They asked Jesus some of the same stuff, all right? So that idea that person could manifest now as Elijah or as somebody in the Old Testament, what do you think that is? How do you put a label on it? Put a name, put a word on it. Okay. So I'm just saying, don't be so quick to say, that's not part of my faith. That's not what I believe. That's totally foreign to me. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. So just some thoughts. All right. So you have that same concept in Buddhism, sorry. Buddhism.
Buddhism, that's what I lived in high school.
Oh, there's a Freudian slip for you right there. Oh my gosh, where'd my mind go? So again, similar cycles of rebirth. Higher realms are affected by your karma as you try to reach nirvana. Isn't that in the Buddhist?
Yep.
Not Hindu, right? Okay. And
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment. There you go. So again, it's this idea that you're striving toward that, not necessarily in just one life, but in a cycle of lives to move higher and higher. All right. Just an idea that they have about all of it. Let's see. Christianity, of course. We already talked about this. Sowing and reaping. You will go into Hebrews and see that just as people are destined to die once and after that to face judgment, a lot of people will pull that Bible verse out that will make the case for no reincarnation. All right. That you physically die and then you go up, down, whatever you want to look at it. All right. But heaven and hell, we've already said this, but I'm just reiterating it, are eternal states. So there's still cause and eternal effects, even if you go into the Christian belief. So it's there.
I've had friends that they lived their whole life since I've known them in heaven.
Yeah.
Nothing could rock their world.
I love
Nothing
that.
could rock their connection to the spirit and to the truth. No matter how obnoxious I was, no matter how much I pushed,
Not
couldn't-
you.
No, I'm going to be living in joy, which is the infallible sign of the presence of God. You couldn't get off. And I've had those friends that no matter how positive, no matter how loving you are, they wanted to live in hell. They could find what was wrong, what was bad, what needed to be judged.
See, that's karma. Because when they look that way, there's going to be this circle at some point. Okay?
Those people are the ones asking, why does nothing work out for me? You might want to check. You're living in hell.
Hello, check. But we talked about in the pre-show too, that it's more than just, I think I got it on here, it's collective karma, right? That as our decisions create effects in our life, it's also dispersed out there. Number one, it's the energy and it's put out there. And probably, I'm going to say the closest people to us in our relationships and all that get affected by that more than others.
Again, back to
Right.
the dominoes. I make a decision, I take an action. It's affecting people in my immediate environment. But
Right.
all of that down the road, they're now affecting people. They're taking a
Yeah.
behavior that I say is acceptable in my environment. My kids are doing it. People around me are watching. Monkey see, monkey do. I'm going to do it. Then people are being affected. And so there is a collective consequence.
Yeah.
We're living. And again, maybe we'll cause a little friction here politically. We're so worried about the effect of who's in office or who's not in office or who was a good person or a bad person, all effects. We need to sit down at the table and get back to the cause where the initial domino was hit. Something happened here to get us to this point.
Correct. And
That's a much
yeah.
better exercise.
Yes, if you read church history, if you read American history, or you read just read history,
Yeah.
you're going to be able to go back and at least you can identify turning points, if you will. Maybe it built up and then boom. All right. But the point being is that you're right. We are where we are today based upon what we've sown in the past as well.
Yes.
Can't help it. It just is the way it works.
Our current suffering
Yes.
had roots very deep that didn't get pulled up and addressed.
Amen. There you go. And that holds true for religion. That holds true for society. That holds true. You name it. All right. All across the board. And then you have Judaism. We're going to move on to just some. We already talked about a lot of these things about the therefore. We always do. But Judaism in particular, I think the distinction there is that there's a concept of ethics big time in the Jewish way to look at cause and effect. What's the right thing to do, right? At the same time, they will also look upon whatever decision I make, God, it'll intervene in some way, shape, or form many times in that. Again, what does that mean? Good or bad? God will punish, God will bless, God will redirect, God will whatever it might be.
But there is a component in Judaism, if I remember correctly, that there must be an action.
Oh,
it's not just, okay, God intervened, I'm good, I'm done. No, the action must, if you've asked for forgiveness, there must be an action of recompense for what you have done. So there is some personal responsibility there that I think is essential to change the energy of the karma.
what have we been talking about? A whole bunch and another venue, right? Own your life. Period.
Period. And
That's not except when.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no,
That's not a comma there.
yeah, there's no asterisk down there at the bottom. So own your life. And the cool thing about that is, and we talked about this earlier today, you have a power of the divine innately in you, not given separately, to be able to fulfill that, to be able to be joyous about accepting that responsibility. All right? It's not something to go, oh, I can't do that. Oh my God,
I can't handle it.
I'm
Sorry.
not-
You can't shirk that responsibility.
Yeah,
It's yours.
It is. You can't throw it on God, can't throw it on anything else, but it's freeing at the same time. So many people live in this box that says, I don't want that freedom. I want to just have it directed for me. Okay. I don't want to think outside that box. But we're encouraging our listeners
So
to
what
go.
we're saying is be
Go ahead.
responsible for your karma. Be responsible for your life. Own
Exactly.
your life. Own the consequences. Be humble enough to go, you know what? Something happened and I might have had a part in that coming to be. Let me do
Imagine
some
that.
cleanup work.
Imagine that. I might have had something to do with
It
that.
takes a great deal of humility.
And perspective. And again, I think it goes through your worldview, which factors into God or anything else. They are to blame, or that out there, or you're constantly pointing to something else and you shirk the responsibility, right? We
Yep.
do it all the time. All right. So that's just some perspectives on the different faiths. We could go in a whole lot deeper on every single one of them, but that's not what this episode's about. Now that we've set the stage, some different things, we're going to spend the last few minutes, which we've already talked about a lot of these because I don't want to cram
And
them
they're
down
good to
into
reiterate, though. It's
Yeah.
meat.
We will. This is good stuff. So you're right. We're going to just reiterate it if we got any other comments, but we really want to drive these points home.
You touched on it, the interconnectivity of all life. I believe this. We are not separate beings having separate experiences with separate beliefs. We're all here by a divine appointment to interact with each other. The good, the not so good, the difficult, and the celebratory. It's all here for a divine purpose. We're connected. So my decisions are affecting the planet.
Yes. We tend to want to point the finger out there and go, not me. That's them over there. Okay. And so I use this concept because this is where we're living right now. We've got war in one place, the Middle East.
There's many places.
There's
right
many
now.
places, but we're just going to point to the current thing. Now, did I have anything directly to do with any of that? Any of the decisions that were made? We're going to bomb, we're not, we're going to move here, we're going to do this. No, I didn't personally, you didn't personally, but can we say with all humility and honesty, my responsibility in it, my part in all that is more than zero.
It has to be.
All right. Because my energetic flow, whether I think about that in a particular way or that person in a particular way, it all matters. It
My
all
current
goes in the equation.
response, and I say to the whale that's washed up on the beach, my current response to the war, to the difficulties on the planet, is determining what will happen next. I am the cause of a reality and an effect that will happen tomorrow and the next day and 10 years and long after I've left the earth. Boy, choose wisely because your grandkids are inheriting your contribution.
Choose wisely. There's the mantra. Put that on a
I
t-shirt.
said something on Sunday about we smile in church and inside there's a war raging on the streets of our belief systems.
Yeah.
So I have to clean up
Yeah.
what's going on the inside. Have I made you my enemy? And again, Jesus said, love your enemy, love your enemy. And I say, you don't have any enemies. If you can get to that place, that's good karma happening. That's good cause and effect happening.
See, there's a different way to look at that word, right? Okay. So anyway, we've got a few more points, but one of them I really want to make before we close this up. We've talked about collective karma. All right, we've already done that we're all in this together. Ways to reduce the friction and create better karma. What did Jesus say? Love one another.
And it's simple. As I have loved you.
That will create a better cause and effect. Don't call the word karma if you don't want to. Call it sowing and reaping. Okay, call it whatever you want. All right, but it's a universal truth. Okay, Jesus didn't speak anything that wasn't cosmic, universal truth. Oh no, this is just for you. He never. Okay. We've already talked about this too. Change your thinking. It has to It has to start with some thoughts that need to change, right? Actions don't happen without changing into thought.
Yep.
So everything about this
In
episode,
some cases, I hope that any thought precedes action. I think a lot of us are acting with no thought whatsoever.
knee jerk, right? That's a good
I
point.
might want to
right?
pause, breathe, and go, let me think about this before I take an action.
That's a good point. All right, I'll go with
And
that.
maybe that's my
right?
contribution. I'm just
Maybe.
going to think about what the consequences will be for me and for the world before I take that action.
Thinking differently, thinking outside your box. Hopefully this episode has given all of our listeners cause to think differently.
That's it. That's
This is
all
the
we
name
can
of the
ask.
game, okay? So let's end with this, though. All right? How about this? I hadn't really thought about this till I thought about it. Oh, there we go. How about this? If you want to have better karma, if you want to sow positiveness into the world, into the cosmos, Jesus said it. Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. How about that word, perfection? We like to go, well, we can't ever get to perfection. That's just us. We're fallen. We're this, we're that. And yet Jesus says, be perfect. So what about, we talked about this at pre-show. What about focusing your intention on perfection and let the rest of it take care of itself without this measuring stick and without this expectation of this, that, or the other? I'm just going to speak perfection into my life. Why not?
And who cares if you ever can get to the ultimate of what perfection is? You're moving in that direction.
Yes.
Your eye is single. Your
Yes.
actions are single. I'm a little bit closer today than I was yesterday.
And there's karma, right? I've sowed, now I'm reaping.
Yeah.
Karma. So think about it
And
out
in
there.
perfection, you're reaping too.
Yes, that's
and
right.
you're reaping, and every listener's reaping that benefit.
It's all, everybody gets the benefit or suffer from my karma.
Yep.
In the collective. So, man,
That's a whole nother episode.
What do you think about this? This is good stuff because we're trying to break down some paradigms. So we really hope that the listeners out there and us, we benefit from it. Hopefully you guys have benefited from some different paradigm shifts. And just maybe it might all come together in ways you had never thought before, right? Thanks for the wisdom, Riz. Thanks for the wisdom, Rev. Getting tongue-tied over here, huh?
There is no perfection behind these mics, but what I do know is we're leaning that direction.
Absolutely.
A little bit closer,
I want
perhaps.
to always be leaning in. So thanks for your wisdom. Thanks
You're
for
for
the
yours.
input. We want to thank everybody out there for listening. And we gave you a little teaser there at the beginning. So stick with us, subscribe, follow. We'll be back next week with some more faith and fiction.
Right.
All right, take care. Thanks.